Now today, Nami set an amazing mark, breaking 203 in the women's 97-pound class, which was an all-time best ever. But more than that, she and Al had a friendly thing going, because that was also Al's best mark in several years that he was intent on breaking. His lifting was going very well up to, and he even said on Facebook jokingly, he was always a very good-natured guy, he's not letting some 9-year-old whippersnapper from New Jersey beat him in this class. He didn't get up to this, but I'm sure he's smiling down at the person that they cut for breaking that mark.
We have with us Mike Kuntz, a world champion in 2009. Mike, please share your story.
I started powerlifting about 1999, 2000, and in 2000 I had my first full competition, which was here in Bigler, that Al Siegel was running. And on my third attempt squat, which I attempted 315, I fell over. And when the contest was over, Al pulled me aside and he gave me a couple suggestions. One being to get official powerlifting squat shoes, which I then purchased later, and I use to this day, which I've used for all my major competitions, and set.
So he was a big influence on you?
Yeah, right from my start. I was a young teenager, and yeah, he saw some potential, and he gave me some advice, and been very successful since then. So I owe a lot to Al, and everything he's done.
I have many fond memories of Al. One that sticks out in my mind was going to the World Powerlifting Championships at Disney World, where he let me drive his own car to Disney World, paid for everything, just so I could spot for him, because he wanted me to come. So that's one of my fond memories, and always the memories in the gym when it's just me, him, and a couple other kids, which he loved. And he always talked about his squat or his deadlift record. That picture that you see on the wall over there.
Right.
He always had to tell that story about that, so I heard it a million times.
Big influence on you?
Big influence on me. Always great to people, kids, love kids. Always positive. Just like a father figure to me for 18 years. So, good man.
Go.
Al Siegel was a great friend and a great lifter. We lifted in many meets together. Obviously, he was in a different weight class than I am. Al was a great lifter and a master deadlifter that had no equal in his weight class. As I said, we lifted in many meets together, and I followed him from San Francisco to Texas to Boston, all around the country when he lifted in the ADFPA. And then again, when he formed his own organization, which we were all glad that he did. We'll remember him always in the evening and in the morning. He was a great friend and truly a great lifter, and God bless Al and God bless America. Thank you.
I remember the first team meeting for the Drug-Free Powerlifting Association. I was able to nominate Al to be on either the board of directors or one of the positions on that committee. I do remember that. That was back in 1982, 83. So that's been a long time. Al goes back, and in my mind, great guy.
Yeah, he certainly is missed. Hello.
Hi, I'm Lori, and I think I was one of the original members of Al's Angels powerlifting team. We lifted at local meets and national level meets. And I remember one time when I was deadlifting, and on my second attempt I missed the record lift, and he came up to me and he stood there, prepped me for my third attempt, and he had his hands on my shoulders and he said, "Everybody's here is rooting for you, and everybody here lifting 1 pound for you," and he really encouraged me, so he's really great at that.
Very good. So you miss him a lot.
I'll miss Al.
Yeah.
When you think of powerlifting, you think of Al.
So the first time I met Al was at the second powerlifting meet I've ever gone to, and I primarily compete in the sport of weightlifting, snatch, clean, and jerk. And I met Al in Odessa, New York for an AAU, which is when AAUs first started getting back into powerlifting, and Al was running the drug testing. Made an impression. It's the main reason I still do any powerlifting now at this point. Al's the reason I'm here.
I met Al Siegel in 2000 when I came over from one of the rival organizations. I came over because we had a lot of problems with the drugs and the assisted gear, and I was trying to find a place for my young, then 12-year-old son to start lifting. When I met Al, the first thing that impressed me was that he spoke about whatever the hell came to his mind. And I always liked that. He pulled no punches. The first competition I went to was out in Pittsburgh, and we had a guy who had a booth set up. He was selling some product and a style of training. And so he sat down with Al and I were already talking, and he listened. And when the guy walked away, he said, "It's a bunch of bull." And I said, "Well, Al, it sounds pretty good." He said, "Jackson, that guy didn't know what he was talking about." He said, "This is the approach you take sometimes in life." He says, "This particular gentleman has luck upon a training style, happenstance. He didn't know what he was doing." He said, "What he did was he took a shot, and then whatever he hit, he called it a target." He said he didn't aim at anything. He was out there in the dark, and he got lucky on something. He's not a guy who knows any more than we do. You know, the style doesn't sound too bad, but he's not a guy who can invest a lot of time in because he just took a shot in the dark. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So, you know, I've always liked that phrase, you know, shoot, and whatever you hit, call it a target. And that was Big Al. He'd give you a million of them. I know once because Al was such a good deadlifter in his youth, I'd ask him for advice once. And I drilled off a long laundry list of ways I could be training and things I was trying to do to improve my deadlift. And Al listened intently for about 3 or 4 minutes. And then when I looked at him, I said, "What do you think?" He said, "Pick it up." I mean, kind of like the Nike commercial, just do it. And that was Big Al. You know, straight to the heart of what you were talking about. No long stories, straight to the bones of it. Pick it up. And that's what I love about the guy. He always spoke from the heart, and he made no bones about whatever he thought. And that's the way I live my life. And I've always appreciated that about him. I just love the guy. I just love him.
My name's Joe Braca, and I've known Al Siegel for approximately 30 years. Al used to help us at the competitions, be an expediter, guiding us in the right way, making sure we made our lifts. In the late 80s, we're in a meet in St. Louis, Missouri. We went up to the St. Louis Arch, and if we're ever in the Arch, there's elevators that take you up there, and they fit 4 normal-sized people. Well, my wife, myself, and 2 other people got in one, and Al had to get in one himself. Always good to have a beer with him, and he knew I liked my Molson, so we enjoyed Molson or Heineken together. Sometimes before a lift, he did more than I did. But that's about it. Al inspired a lot of people to lift weights and stay with it, and that's why we come to his meets a lot of times, because of Al Siegel.
I started going to Siegel engraving when my twins were in high school. They were track athletes, and somebody said, "Take them to Al, he'll train them." And I stuck around after that, continued to train with him as his training partner. Obviously recently. We were on our way to a state track meet. I had one of the football coaches in the car, and he said, "What's he charge for that?" Nothing. I looked on the stairway. The kids started in the early 2000s writing their name in chalk. There were over 83 names on the stairs last I looked. The most recent 2, their names aren't up there yet. So all kinds of athletes. Saw 2 state wrestling champions go through there. I've seen district track and field champions go through there. Swimmers, soccer players, basketball. Not only did he train athletes, but he stuck with them and developed a life relationship. Upstairs, Lieutenant Kyler's receiving his commission. There's one picture on the wall. Various girls in prom dresses are on the wall. They're all Alan's kids. My first meet with him was at the Rockview State Penitentiary. I like to say that's where I met Bugs Bear in prison. And Al greeted the inmates because he'd been in the prison doing meets for them in the past. He was one of the few organizations who would go in and conduct events for the inmates. And he smiled and said, "The difference between me and them is I could run fast when I was a kid there, but for the grace of God." I was that close to trouble. But he was a tremendous giver to his community, both the local, the state, and the national community. He went all over the place sponsoring Iron Squad.
I've known the Siegel family for about 20 plus years. Al Siegel is a great man, a good human being, a good person. He's done so much for the sport of powerlifting. At my first meet, we had a picture taken together, and he autographed it for me. Al used to always tell me, put some weight on the bar. Al was the kind of person that believed in everybody. He always brought out the best in everyone because he loved the sport of powerlifting and he always wanted to see people do the very best. I'm very saddened by this loss. This squat today was dedicated to Big Al Siegel. And we miss you, Al.
He was a good person. He liked lifting. I could always remember him telling stories about every Monday about a new person he's met that weekend with Brenda. And he'd be talking about it like you thought you also knew them, but you really didn't. And he would always talk about his granddaughter Eve a lot. She always, to him, she could always do things that no other little kid could do. To him, she was so smart, and he just loves lifting.
He's a big influence on you and your lifting?
Yeah, he's helped me a lot in my lifting, and it's also helped me with my other sports.
I've been lifting now for like 53 years, doing the Olympic list, going into powerlifting. I met Al and Joe Oringi, and over the years, Al and I have become very close. Great man. Without him, there would be no powerlifting in this area, and that's how I feel about Al. He was a great man, and we've lost a great, what do you want to call, hero actually. Because without him, there would be, like I said, no powerlifting.